Hey there, fellow ChessGoons. My name is Anthony Arena. I am a 2000 rated chess expert from Long Island, New York, and today we're going to go over how to dismantle your opponent's center while creating a kingside attack and sacrificing pieces strategically. I'm extremely excited to go over this live example, so let's just get right into it. All right, guys, let's get to it. And we're up against a 1300 here. We're going to play e5 once again, looking to challenge the center, and it looks like we get the Macalot attack. He's going to push d4. So I'm going to go ahead and add an extra defender to that square. Just knight f6 and take, pawn takes back. And when you're playing this type of line, you're going to want to play bishop b4 because there's no pawn to jump in front. So we do get a nice little pin. Now, looking at this position, I'm trying to figure out how can I develop my pieces best in order to instigate some sort of attack and basically take that initiative that white normally has. Queen to f6 to me is an attack, but then bishop to e3 he develops while defending. So maybe just knight e7. If the pawn pushes here, yeah, knight f6, but then there's threats of e5, d5, just pushing all my pieces away. So yeah, let's just play knight e7. If this pawn pushes, knight to e5 and then rerouting the g6, totally no problem there for me. He does have control of the center, which you do have to account for, but there are ways that we can punish and probably take a substantial advantage, but we're still playing it patient because we know that at some point we're going to be able to exploit the position and maybe even play d5. I'm seeing d5 as a pretty plausible option here. That would at least challenge his control of the center to play something like that, but we have to wait and see if he plays something like d5 first, forcing our knight to reroute. Otherwise, d5 is a great move. It challenges the center. It allows our bishop to develop out into the light squares as well. Probably something more conservative like bishop d7 we played in that particular situation. And he goes f4. Very aggressive move. Though I'm noticing a weakness here. This dark square diagonal is definitely going to be a target. Not yet. I'm not trying to sacrifice a knight and play queen h4 or anything crazy like that. But for now, perhaps just d5. Yeah, d5 works for me. Knight f5. It's officially opened up a square for us. And if he does push aggressively to g4, we would have queen h4. But of course, knight f3, that to me is a solid idea. Knight takes back. We would end up, yeah, in that situation, we would end up losing this pawn. Maybe just bishop e6. Castling makes sense to me. H6 to at least keep the knight from coming to g5. This g4 threat is real. And then the knight would have to go back to e7. But as long as we have e7, I don't hate that position. It's just then we kind of lose the tempo. We end up having to retreat, but this weakness, there would be a weakness here, and immediately it would discover bishop takes on g4. Let's castle. Let's see what he wants to do here. Let's see if he decides to play g4. Notice he hasn't castled long yet, and in general, I still see his safest castling opportunity to be right here on the king side. The queen side would be a little open, but I think no matter what he chooses to do, it's not really a great idea to castle short or long. There are weaknesses that we can exploit when he does castle. So I think even though he has control of the center, I'm starting to see possibilities where I'm going to be able to attack him once he castles. And if he doesn't castle, there are opportunities to attack in the center as well. This knight's really good, though. It does prevent me from going h4. Now that he's played h4, the rook's defending as well. But perhaps knight g3, forking these two pieces, and maybe that could make a lot of sense. Another option that I'm actually really liking is this f6 push. To me, the f6 push makes a lot of sense because it opens up the center and it allows us to get our pieces onto the E file, and then knight to G3 would make a lot of sense. So pushing F6 first. If he pushes, then simply just bishop takes, and it's pretty good for us. Now, keep in mind in this situation, he does push G4, but I can actually instigate an attack here. I don't have to retreat. I can play knight G3. Now the bishop is a threatening G4. Knight takes. If king takes back, then he can't castle. If rook takes back, then this pawn is hanging. So good stuff here. Let's go ahead and take. And knight takes could make sense later on. What do I want to do? Maybe queen h4 would make a lot of sense too. Could push the pawn here. Where would the knight go if I push the pawn? Here and then here. Let's just keep the pressure going. We're going to attack the knight. And this also gives us an opportunity to swing our queen out to d5. And then knight takes e5 would be a very nice option. Noticing that his king is in a really bad position and we're just taking advantage. Queen checks. Queen checks is solid. I almost wish I can get my bishop out to e6, but simply put, the bishop is protected by the knight. So just moving over, and I don't really see what the follow-up is. He has to still protect his knight. And he does that. He goes here, but can I just pressure the knight again with just a6, forcing the knight to a3, which is a weak square for the knight to say the least. And then, I mean, rook takes almost makes sense here. I think the knight sack could be quite good for me. The knight sack, if knight takes back, though, what do I do? Maybe not. Let's see. I mean, the knight can't take here. Well, oh, I guess he can now I think about it. This could be a mistake. Our knight is defending the bishop. It's overloaded, unfortunately. Well, yeah, no, that's not going to be good for him. If knight takes back. If knight takes, queen takes, defending the bishop. And if he was to take the bishop here, I would have a fork, right? So to me, this is actually a no-brainer. Yep. And then queen takes, defending the bishop. And now we've officially gotten into the attack. Now, the bishop is attacking the queen, defended by the queen, but I'm wondering what can I do to create a game-winning attack? And I think I see an idea here. Rook takes pawn, bishop takes back, queen takes check, and now both my bishops are going to get involved very quickly, and we'll probably win this rook on g1. So not too much calculating here. I just see that the king's wide open, and I see that bishop takes would be a possibility after queen check. And I think that's enough compensation to sacrifice the exchange. Bishop can't take king. Well, bishop can't take queen, I should say, because the rook is checking the king. And yeah, to me, I see compensation here. Queen takes back. Notice we're checking the king now. And he doesn't have the option of going to e1 because the bishop. Then we have bishop checks g4. If rook takes, then we just take back. And now we've just won a substantial amount of material. We sacrificed the exchange, but we ended up winning that rook back right away. And to me, it's just +4 now. We actually just get a bishop out of it and a pawn. Also, the king doesn't really have many good options to go to, and rook d8 with tempo to check the king will probably be available. But I would resign here. I think he's just been completely outplayed. Yep, and even with king to f1, we do have rook to f8, checking the king. And just look how active our queen, bishop, and rook are. And he's going to resign there. Stay classy, my friends.